Okay, let's begin. I know everybody is excited about linear vector space examples. So we're going to do two. We're going to do a two-dimensional and a three-dimensional, okay? So that we can have fun. Okay, so this is lecture 9, part 4, just examples, nothing more. The lecture we covered in the last time, so let's look at the examples. A plane is defined by two vectors. Remember that, two vectors. We have x1 and x2. Those are going to be our two vectors. Now we want to find the normalization or the normal vector that define the same space, orthonormal. Okay, so let's get started. So we're going to find out what x1 is. x1 is equal to y1. And all we have to do is find what E1 is, and all we have to do is normalize it by taking the magnitude of Y1 and be able to divide it by that. And if we're able to divide it by the magnitude of the vector, then we can we have the normality of it, the perpendicular. So what do we do here? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the components of 2 and 1 and square each one and take the square root of them and get the square root of 5. So that's how we have 2i plus j divided by the square root of 5. Okay, so now we take in the second one, and the second one's a little more complicated. We have all of these things multiplied times each other. We have it, the normality of the first one, the first vector, times the second vector, times the normality of the first vector. We're going to subtract that all from the second vector. Okay, so we have here 1 plus 3j plus k minus this huge quantity of the normalization of 1, 2i plus j divided by the square root of 5 times I plus 3j plus k. Okay, then all of that multiplied by the normality again, okay, of 2i plus j divided by the square root of 5. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is what's in the brackets. I just wanted to make it very simple. We want to get the E1 times the X2. That's it to get started. Okay, so we have 2ij divided by the square root of 5 times 1 plus 3j plus k. So that quantity we're going to bring down to 1/5. Okay, separate it from there. And then after we separate it from there, we're going to put it in point notation. Okay, so it's just going to be comma separating. We're going to drop the ij plus sign minus sign. We're going to drop all that stuff. Okay, so now we have 1 over the square root of 5. Okay, and that's going to be, we have 2, 1, 0, and 1, 3, 1. So we multiply 2 times 1, we get 2. We multiply 1 times 3, we get 3. And we multiply 0 times 1, we get 0. And we take out the 1/5. We bring that with us. Okay, so we have what's in the parentheses correct. Okay, so now the next thing we like to do is redefine what E1 was so we don't lose it. Okay, because we need E1 in these equations. Okay, so we just did what's in the parentheses. Now we're going to do the normalization of the first one times that that answer that we have here. And so basically what we're going to do now is we take the 1/5, we have the actual two vectors, okay? So we multiply the square root of 5 times the square root of 5, we have in our denominator 5. Multiply 2 times 2, we get 4. We multiply 3 times 1, we get 3. We multiply 0 times 0, we get 0. So now what do we want to do? Okay, the next thing we would like to do is be able to find out what this, since we did what's in the parentheses, okay, and we multiplied it times this, this other E1. Now all we're going to do is take this amount and subtract it from X2. So to do that, what we have to do is find a common denominator. Yes, common denominator. Yes, common denominator is what? 5. Okay, so you have to multiply your first one by 5 over 5 because the second one has it. So let's do that. Okay, so we're going to multiply this by 5 over 5 and bring out the 1/5 all the way out front so we don't have that blocking anything. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to subtract Now we're going to multiply 5 times everything. So 5 times 1 is 5, 5 times 3 is 15, 5 times 1 is 5. Now we can subtract 4 from 5, and what do we get? 1, yes. When we subtract 3 from 15, we get 12. When we subtract 0 from 5, we get 5. Yes, okay. So now we're going to divide 1/5 times all of this, or multiply 1/5 times this. 1/5 is equal to 0.2, and 12 divided by 5 is 2.4, and 5 divided by 5 is 1. Okay, so we have that complete. So now that we have y, now all we have to do is what? Find its what? Absolute value. Okay, so we find out its absolute value, 0.2 squared, 2.4 squared, 1 squared, and we get 1.89. Okay, so the next thing we want to look at is, okay, we have 2. Now we know we have to divide it by what? By its absolute value. Okay, so when we divide it, we have 1 divided by 1.89 times what? 0.2, comma, 2.4, comma, 1. Okay, and what do we get? We get 0.105, and we get 4.615, and 0.52. Okay, so we're finished with that example. Should I pause and make another example and do number 5? No. Let me just try to finish this one. Okay, let's find, again, the perpendicular orthogonal normal set of 3 vectors. Okay, let's find the perpendicular sets of these 3. That's basically what it's asking. We're looking for E1. All we have to do is find a normalization of the first one. So we find out the first vectors here, 0, 0, 5, 0. Okay, we know that 5 is what's going to be the magnitude. So you have 5 squared, and you put it on the square root, you get 5 back. Okay, so we have 5, and then it's divided into the k factor, into the z factor. It's 5, so it'll just be 1. Okay, so it'll be 0, 0, 1, 0 instead of 0, 0, 5, 0. Okay, so now we have that, and so they give us this long equation, and they simplify it to be just b minus 3 times the first normalization that you have done, the first perpendicular ones that you pulled together. So if we take this, we multiply this times 3, 0, 0, 1, 0 times 3. Okay, and then we're gonna subtract that. Okay, so if we subtract from here, 0 from 2 we get 2, 0 from 0 we get 0, and 3 from 3 we get 0, and 0 is 0. Okay, so now we have this one, which is what? 2, 0, 0, 0. Okay, so that represents the first part. So now this is all they're saying, that all of this is a wrap up of E2. That's wonderful. Okay, so now what we have to do is take E2 and take the normalization of it. Okay, so to take the normalization of it, we have to do the same thing. So we have 2, 0, 0, 0. And if we take 2, the magnitude, it's just going to be 2 squared. Okay, so the 2's will cancel what's on top and what's on the bottom. And this is what we'll wind up with, 1, 0, 0, 0. Okay. Now we have y3 that we want to find, our final destination. And they said all we have to worry about is c minus 5, E1. That's the first part of it. Okay, let's see what else the other part of it is. Okay, then it tells us that to get E3, we need Y3 over the absolute value of Y3. Okay, so we're going back up, putting up the original formula, defining what E1 is, showing you what E2 is. We'll need them all for the example. Okay, so this one here, see, I told you there was some more. There it is, a minus 7 E2. So let's get started. Let's see what we can do. Okay, let's plug in for E2. Okay, what is E2? Here is E2 here, and we're going to multiply times 7 and a minus. Okay, what are we going to do for E1, okay? We're going to take E1, okay? And we're going to multiply times a -5 and then times a negative, so that gives me a plus. So that'll give me a +5, okay? Multiplied times all of this, okay? Then when we come down to the last one, okay, all it says is you just put in C, and that's why I wrote there with C. Okay, so now we're going to add these guys together, or these have to be multiplied. So if we multiply 7 times all of this, so we get a -7, 0, 0, 0. Multiply 5 times this, we get 0, 0, 5, 0, and we don't do anything with the other one. Okay, so what we want to do is, okay, 7 minus 7 gives me 0. 1 minus 0 gives me 1. -5 minus +5 gives me 0. And 3 minus 0 is 0. So we see the new value that we have here. Okay, then we're going to take the absolute value of it. Now that we have the vector, we've divided by the absolute value. Okay, so for the absolute value, what numbers do we have? We have to square 1 and a square of 3. Okay, when you square them, you get 9 plus 1, which is the square root of 10. Okay, so that's all for tonight. You can now work your problems. You have a practice problem number 3 here with 3 variables, and then you have another one. They ask you to find out. Okay, so good luck. Thank you for being patient with me, taking my time going through this. I know I went through this thing at least 10 times, So I was just trying to get it perfect for you guys. All right, thank you and enjoy.